All right, welcome back again for another episode with our favorite guest, Dr. Ray. We are back to talk more because, man, the subjects that we dive into, I think that society is really thirsting for. Really thirsting for, because relationships, what's going on in greater society is just a reflection of what's going on inside of everybody's homes. So I'm so grateful that you're willing to do this and share your expertise with us. My guests, I know that they cherish it because I cherish it.
Well, I cherish you. It gives me the opportunity to talk about these things because it's happening in our, all around us, our backyards and everything. And so, particularly this topic, because I'll just jump into it. I mean, we constantly hear like, why are boys and men becoming so feminine?
100%. Woo, that's a hard one.
There's always this like, oh my God, like where we live here, you hear women constantly say, there's no men here.
Yeah, there's no men here. Yeah, that's what they say.
I wonder, like, imagine being one of those men who they feel like is not like a man they're attracted to, who's just sitting there, and then right next to them are women saying that there's no men here.
Yeah.
Like, what
are you talking about? What are you talking about? The way you said that proves their point, bro.
You're getting backlash for that. So you're saying a man can't have a high-pitched voice? No,
I was trying to just show how much they overly emote, maybe.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the natural way to do it. But
you want to start off with the topic is, or we?
No, that's cool. Yeah, so today what we're going to talk about is how unhealed feminine trauma is projected onto sons, and that's what helps create the feminization of men.
That's right there. You probably triggered a bunch of women, like their parents.
Yeah. And you want to know something? I did want to say too is there's some households where there's a lot of single women raising kids and stuff, and I think that's part of it. It's not all women's faults. It's not all the trauma, that whatever things that they experienced before they knew. It's not, you know what I mean? It's just being aware of the things that it's just being aware. Once you're aware and once you're conscious of the things that help make things develop and grow, then you can do something with it. But you got to admit it. But like you said, if you're triggered and you're like, oh, no, don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Well, my father was raised by a single woman.
Yeah, there you go.
So my dad was a badass and pretty strong.
Yeah.
He was also in a culture where there's more guidance.
Yeah.
Neighbors would kick your ass if you get out of line.
Yeah.
There was more personal responsibility. Times have changed.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just my father's mother raising him. It was a culture in which that it was common for others to watch the children.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot of permissiveness.
There is a lot of permissiveness.
Yeah.
It's almost like people don't, it's almost like people don't understand that we are a representation of the greater culture.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, what happened to that? Like taking pride in how my culture, how my neighborhood, and how everything is, and everybody's battling each other now instead of uniting together. But yeah.
So I'm going to read some notes here, and again, this happens more with those who've been sexually perpetrated, those who maybe have discomfort with their own sexuality, to maybe they just don't know, to the type of guidance they saw was imbalanced.
Yeah.
Because, when I meet probably all my clients, actually all, whatever happened in that household was normalized.
Yeah.
That's it, just bottom line. That's all.
That's all they know.
That's all they know.
Yeah.
So this is not to shame anyone.
No.
So here, I'm going to read this. So this is how it shows up again. And so before I go into this, sons are emotionally partnered by their mothers, expect to be her safe man or confidant. And that is where you're talking to your sons about how shitty the father is.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Or
that's not good.
Or sharing like intimate stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what is he to do with that? And that can create that. Assertiveness, aggression, competitiveness, or strong emotion is shamed. Like, oh my God, don't be so loud. That's mean. Calm down.
Yeah, calm down.
Like even here, my girlfriend reported that her son and another kid were playing and shooting with fingers.
Yeah.
And some women said, don't do that.
Yeah.
They saw it as violent, dude.
Yeah, violent with their man.
Her son is this like most innocent, sweet kid.
Yeah.
Like somehow they create some connection to that could lead to like a shooting or something.
Yeah, something like that, or them being violent, which is weird. I grew up with all types of guns and stuff, and I've never, and I had many opportunities where I could be like that in the life I lived, but I took guns and I put them away.
Dude, I owned a Magnum 357 when I was 15.
Yeah, see, wow.
15 years old, and they share something here. So my mother found it underneath my clothes. And it was stolen. Yeah. And she found it and she gave it to my father. Yeah. My father came to me and he said, "Is this yours?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Where'd you get it?" I said, "Well, I bought it off someone." He's like, "What are you going to do with it?" I said, "Oh, it's just for protection. It's just, I want to keep it." Because you're not going to be a fucking idiot with it? I said, "No." He handed it back to me. Yeah. So guns have been in my family. My dad was a sharpshooter. We didn't like the way it's portrayed with people like gun owners being crazy. If guns kill people. No, people kill
100%. It's about anything else. Responsibility, taking responsibility of what you have. You know, and it is people that kill people. You can have anything kill people, and the people that they're trying to protect against the guns, it's just not. They're going to get the guns anyways. You think they print AK-47s in the hood, but they're filled with them. You know what I mean? Where are they getting those?
Exactly. Curiosity around sexuality is ignored, punished, or shamed, leading to confusion or hidden behavior.
100%.
And that can turn into the child masturbating all the time, or feeling like this is ugly. I'm gonna push this down. And the way that leads to particular behaviors is where it becomes that kind of like soft guy who doesn't want to take the lead because he's afraid that his attraction to this woman, or if he's a teenager, to this teenage girl, is going to be seen as like too much, or like disgusting, or toxic masculinity.
100%. Especially that toxic masculinity part. Yeah. And so then they don't know how to act properly. Mm-hmm. For example, if you don't mind me telling a story about that whole thing. Yeah. Okay, so I remember hearing this story about there was this bull elephant, right? A young bull elephant, and he was going around and he was like having sex with the rhinos and killing them.
Why not? That's right.
You know the story, right?
I actually wrote an article about that.
Did you? Yeah, Isn't that wild? Yeah. And then they had somebody come in and be like, "Well, what's going on?" They're like, "Hey, you know what? Move this bull elephant over here where there's some more mature elephants, male elephants." Mm-hmm. Because what's going on is they don't know how to express the whole sexuality thing that they're going through because there's no one there to guide them.
It's called must.
It's
the testosterone. It's when their testosterone is being kicked up just like humans, like males, young males. Yeah. And they don't know how to contain themselves.
Yeah, they don't.
And what they did is they flew in a male, older male around what was happening, honestly, was these young elephants were actually having sex with the rhinos too.
Yep.
That's what happened. They were like, and the whole ecological system was off. But when they flew in this old male elephant, within a week, everything mellowed out.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. It's crazy how that works.
It reflects even into the human kingdom, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's funny that you brought that up. Yeah. I'll share that with you because I use that example to where like young boys, young men need guidance.
We do. Yeah. Or we did.
Masculine instincts, risk play, boldness are labeled as dangerous or toxic rather than guided and shaped. Mm-hmm. Something just happened with my son, and I don't know, like it happened last week. Yeah. I should show you the actual poem I ended up wanting to send to the teacher. Yeah. Max shows up. I pick him up in school and he says, "Dad, are you good at writing a poem?" I'm like, "Dude, like I'm a lyricist. Of course I'm good at it." He's like, "I have to write a poem about how I won't climb bars." I went, "What?" he says, just a poem about I won't climb bars anymore. I said, are you saying that you have to do this assignment? First off, you have to write a poem to say you won't climb a bar, so you're in trouble. And he said, yes. I said, how high were the bars? Well, I can now reach them. So you're saying that bars you jumped on? He's like, yeah. I said, was anyone near that you could hurt them? He said, no. I go, were you told multiple times to get off it? He said, just twice. I go, was it the same time? No, just one other time. I said, so because of your curiosity, because you're a boy, because you want to grab something, you're in trouble?
Yeah, that's wild.
I go, dude, fuck that. He saw me get all riled up.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, this is what you see. You see a bunch of castrated boys.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And they cry. I'll tell you what happens here. Like dodgeball.
Yeah.
These are boys who have little, even like mustaches starting to grow, cry. Pick it up.
I know. That's so wild. To me.
Yeah. Like cheat. Yeah. Will actually take credit where credit's not due.
Yeah.
Like there's this it's a trip.
Yeah.
It's more about let's be nice.
Yeah. Everybody participates. Everybody's the same.
Yeah. So that happened. And so, but he wrote the poem, but one day I'll share this poem.
Yeah, I'm down to hear it. Yeah. I'm down to hear. I like stuff like that. Let's rattle them. Let's hear it.
Yeah. Mothers unconsciously want their sons to stay emotionally enmeshed, so independence feels like abandonment.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah. And so you can imagine you'll see those kind of weird, inappropriate relationships
with their mother,
constantly calling. I've worked with married couples where the husband is calling the mom all the time, and the wife is saying like she is inappropriate. Like I want him to have this closeness, but something's really off.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel good. But it's not just that dynamic; it's that he's not fully developed.
Yeah,
and she's upset with is that he's not really stepping into manhood.
Yeah,
and the mother is actually enablement.
Yeah, it's almost like the mother is the guidance, and they call them mama's boys, but it's a little deeper.
Well, I don't know if I mentioned this. My mother had married a man like that I don't know if it was late 40s, but it was the 1950s. Yeah. She walked away. She divorced him. This was in Okinawa. Yeah, and so her son stayed with him. Yeah. She was ostracized by her culture.
Wow.
Yeah, my mom was my mom had fire. Both my parents had fire.
That's what's up.
I'm from a lineage of strong women.
That's
what's up.
With that. Yeah.
Very clear with that. And any women think you're misogynist, you are able to vote because of my grandmother, my great aunt, who were friends with Eleanor Roosevelt. They were right there with the women's suffrage movement. Yeah. I think I mentioned to you that my grandmother was like the second or third female deputy in the Bronx.
Yeah, that's amazing to me.
So I am far removed from that.
Yeah,
I appreciate strong women, and there's a big difference between a strong woman, letting a boy be a boy.
Yeah, 100%, and keeping him a boy.
Yeah,
keeping him a boy as they develop.
Yeah. And so the impact on the sons could be like this: becomes emotionally shut down or hyper pleasing to stay safe around women.
Yeah.
Oh, did you see that around us at all?
Yeah. No, hyper pleasing. Forget that.
Associates his desire with guilt or shame.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Do you know what happened? It happened here. So
let's do it.
I don't know if we do these interviews so I can talk shit, but I'm not.
Let's do it.
But I was. You're not helping. So I'm at Snap Gym, and so there's two of them, and this one particular one, there always are like these more like female bodybuilders who have nice butts doing squats.
Yeah.
And there's this guy who is kind of like that kind of this guy, and not someone I feel safe with.
Yeah.
And I know that he was dating someone.
Yeah.
My friend.
Yeah.
And even she wanted him to step up.
Step up, man.
And I was like a bro, like you, dude.
Yeah.
And we were talking, and he wasn't at the gym at the time.
Yeah.
He had an office right by there, so he can not only work out there, he can see who comes and goes.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so I said to him, I said, I go, wow. I go, well, you have a nice view. He's like, what are you talking about? I go, well, that's the gym where, women who really want to work on their butts go. And he's like, well,
You were like,
really.
what?
I wanted a shower. I wanted to take a shower.
After that, yeah, like what the hell?
Like he couldn't own it. Like he felt weird. I'm like, dude, like even they're no longer together, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm like, even your partner would
Yeah.
go, I like that.
Yeah.
Your partner would love to see that fight.
That man in you.
He shrunk with another man.
Yeah, that's wild.
And I have that. Yeah. I have that experience here. Like, at the YMCA when we're sweating and stuff, like conversations will come up and like it's just men holding back.
Yeah. Even though it's just natural.
Hey, what's going on? We're going to get back to the interview right after this. If you like what you're hearing and you like the interview that's going on and you want to learn more about us, go ahead and go to thismodernmystic.com where you can get access to courses, merchandise, and live events that we'll be at. thismodernmystic.com. We'll see you there.
It's just a natural thing to feel that type of attraction, regardless.
Yeah.
What are you gonna? Yeah, you're castrating yourself by denying it.
And we're not condoning the language. You just grab them by the pussy.
Yeah, no, we're not saying that. No, lawsuits and all that.
Said that. Have you ever hear a guy say that? You hear that?
No, yeah, that's not.
We would look at that guy like,
what the fuck is wrong with you, man? Get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah.
You got a case or something, don't you?
That goes into a fucking weird zone for even guys.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Becomes passive, indecisive, and covertly manipulative in relationships.
Yeah.
May perform nicest as a survival strategy, but is disconnected from his instincts.
Yeah, yep, 100%. And when you're saying that the guilt and shame, not only for the desire, but being guilt and shameful for being a man, especially if the woman is always talking shit about their father. Because as much as there might be some bad stuff going on between the father and the mother, that father is still a part of that child. Mm-hmm. That father is still inside the child, just like you are half of that child. Mm-hmm. He is half of that child. So they internalize that like, oh, it's not a good thing to be a man.
Yes.
It's not a good thing,
They do internalize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And it's, I see it all the time.
Yeah.
I see it all the time.
And it seems like, especially with the whole pumping the toxic masculinity and the patriarch and all that all the time, I could see how men are shying away from standing in their manhood because society is saying how toxic men are.
They have mixed messages. So it's different for you and I because we grew up with that guidance.
Yeah, 100%.
And it was celebrated. Even your mom celebrated you.
Yes. 100%.
My mom celebrated me. Like the things that she, would do and things that I still remember this. Now, this is not the best thing to share, but I remember, but she didn't shame me for it. So when I played soccer, we had a professional soccer player, or he was once he's from England. He was professional. Yeah. And so when the parents are not around, he taught us how to play a little dirty.
Yeah.
And not get a red card. And so, I was pretty strong. And there was times that I would take other kids out.
Yeah.
And sometimes those kids would cry. And they're like,
you're beating up the kids.
Yeah. And the coach was Ed. Ed's like, he's like, make sure. We were competitive.
That's what's up. I like that.
And my mother, my mother's from Okinawa. Damon, can't you just be nice?
Yeah.
She didn't like seeing it,
Yeah.
But she loved that I kicked ass too.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think that's a real thing. Like, we're competitive by nature. It's almost just the way it is as you build yourself and you mold yourself to, kind of carve out this space in the world that's you.
I compete with myself. No one else.
100%.
Yeah, how else are you supposed to grow? And that comes from also just feedback.
Yeah.
Not getting defensive, being able to up-level ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, not necessarily being jealous of the other person. Use them as a marker. Like, okay, last time let's see where I can go to.
Insecure guys do that. That's what we were taught. That's
100%.
Passive aggressive guy.
Yeah,
that guy doesn't feel. enough.
Yeah, you just know. You know who you are. You know what you can do, and you improve on it. The places where you're not strong in, if it really bothers you, that's the other part. Mm-hmm. If it bothers you that much, then do the work to do something about it. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I used to not communicate as well, meaning like my vocabulary wasn't as vast, and other things. And I just would listen to the Vocabulary Advantage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what's up, cassette.
And I would just listen to that because I wanted to broaden my vocabulary.
Yeah. 100%.
That was it.
Yeah.
So this is how trauma plays out, like in a role. A woman who has been sexually betrayed or assaulted may fear male sexuality even in her child, her boy.
Oh, yeah.
It does happen. Okay?
Yeah.
She may unconsciously castrate her son's masculinity to avoid her own discomfort. Alternatively, she may idealize her son as a way to get the man she never had.
Oh, that's a weird one.
Yeah, I know. Creating emotional confusion and guilt in the boy. That's that relationship I'm talking about. This is the traumas. This is underneath that inappropriate relationship with a mother is always like in that kind of inappropriate relationship with her son.
Yeah. Too much dependency on each other.
Well, that's the underlying mechanisms, the survival mechanism.
That's wild.
And here's some long-term patterns. He grows into a man who fears his own power, avoids conflict, and seeks permission to exist, needing validation. In fact, I see this. And like when I put myself out there on men's groups that I don't know, like trust has not been created or there's no healthy container.
Yeah.
When I speak this way, when I come from this place of like confidence, I get sometimes the attacks. But what I'll see on those threads is how these men are so angry at women as if they're a victim.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know. And I've been in some groups like that. And I told my wife, I was like, I just don't understand how men sit around and all they do is talk about their feelings, but there's nothing done about it. And then you come back and they talk about it and there's nothing done. I don't really see that as being a man.
That's the YMCA. That was the two men's group I did as well. Like staying in that space, like where I need her to validate me. And here's the thing, they're not showing up.
Yeah, they're not showing up.
So it's like, they're wanting this. Well, if they got this, say, validation from their mother that they're good at everything, but they're not showing up that way in a real like adult relationship, they might see the other partner as being overly critical.
100%.
You're not fucking taking accountability.
Yeah, your mom was just giving you too many kudos for stuff that you're not even really showing up for.
Yeah. He becomes attracted to dominant or chaotic partners, mirroring his early caregiver dynamic.
Marrying your mom.
Yep. Alternatively, he stays disconnected from women entirely, fearing rejection or engulfment.
Yeah. Surface level relationships, if that.
Or he just says, he can even just get into his work.
Yeah.
He's he just, or gaming or just masturbating.
Gaming. Yeah. Same thing. That's wild. Yeah, these are good things to people to think about, man, and really process when they're, even if you're the one attracting people like this, or you are this person, then it's not really we're trying to bash you to. No, we just want you to see these dynamics to see if they can empower you to be what it is that if you're attracted to watching this, we already know that either you're a troll and you just want to be hateful, or you really want to do some work, because we talk about some pretty, sensitive stuff, if you want to call it that, or stuff that people would take as a recoil from, because it's potent stuff. It's potent stuff.
Oh, I would imagine that like the woke culture would be offended by this.
Man, they're going to sleep after listening.
I want to share some things, like some tools, the way to look at this. But like truth, boys need masculine mentorship.
100%.
Men who help them channel their strength. Like we talked about the elephant, okay?
Yeah.
Help, be able to contain that emotional intensity and sexuality with clarity and integrity.
100%.
Like, for example, I see beautiful women still,
Yeah.
I still see beautiful women, but I'm not one of those fucking dogs out there like Andrew Tate or those who like you have to do something with it. That comes from being able to like feel that attraction, feeling it in my balls, and bringing it up to my heart. Men can do that because you're always going to be surrounded by beauty, and if you allow
all over,
if you allow that beauty to be kind of like calling energy and kicking your fucking ass, so you can't make the money, or you can't like eventually buy a home or lead, you'll end up with no woman. You'll end up with like a lack of respect for yourself as well.
100%. And that's interesting when you said that the Kali energy, or Kali is very interesting because all you're doing is chasing that attraction, and it takes away from, we have purpose in life, and if you're so into, I need to get validation from this attractive woman, then you're being pulled away from your purpose in life, and that in and of itself is demasculating.
Oh, big time. It's dangerous. They need mothers who will own their trauma, not pass it on. These boys, hear it again. They need mothers who will own their trauma and not pass it on. They need homes where power isn't feared but shaped.
And that's what's
they need homes where power isn't feared but shaped.
Yes, 100%, because that power can really, it can really help you form the world that you are trying to create outside.
We teach people how to treat us, man or woman, if we embody healthy masculinity.
100%.
Even with my partner, she used to work on weekends to, she had just had like, her schedule was kind of more dictated by what people wanted versus what she wanted to choose. So even she's had to learn how to lean into her masculinity in a little bit way, and also trust in the feminine that they'll come.
100%.
Like I have strong boundaries. Like I work only Monday through Thursday, a certain window. Because I get up super early. You know how I feel. So, and I've been doing this for so long, I just know the right people to show up. And I have a very short day on Friday. That's it.
That's
on average, I work maybe 15 to 20 hours a week, but I've also, it's taken a lot of time to get there. But here's the thing, when I was working and connecting with clients in the flow, in the feminine, also with my masculine direction, I could see into the future. The masculine looks at the future. The masculine is looking to create time freedom. The masculine is looking to create safety and containers and for beauty to shine, while the feminine might be into connecting. The feminine might be, it doesn't matter if it's a man or woman, the feminine might be into more the experience and so forth. And so if you are, say, in your trauma and you didn't feel seen and so forth, and you just see your boy fall down, or you see them have a challenge at school, that's also maybe their rites of passage to their becoming.
100%.
If you go in there and you get, you helicopter, you make sure they're okay. And that's great to connect, but it's really important for them to do their own thinking. Such as maybe own something like maybe you should be more present when you're riding your skateboard. This is why we do wear helmets. To where he might not even see it at the moment. Like now, you're doing this with your daughters. Right? Is it where you want her to take accountability?
100%. And also, even in, like you're saying, when they fall or something, right? Not making it that big of a deal, because their initial reaction is I've noticed they look at me first, and then they decide how big of the cry is going to be.
Dude, that's it.
They look, if you watch your kid, like, and I've been spending a lot of time with my children lately because Maeve got a job. So now I'm spending way more time with them. And I watch and I observe because I want to understand how they operate so that I can operate appropriately with them, and that's one of the things I notice. It's not that they cry first. A lot of times they'll look at me first and then be like, okay, what do I do? I'd be like, you got this.
Listen to that. So this has always been my approach. Okay. So I also mentored under Dr. Siegel, and he wrote many children's book. And so, and he's in LA, and he wrote the book, No Drama Discipline. That's one of the books. And he gets into attachment theory by John Bowlby. And so with my son, early on, when something would happen, he would fall or whatever, these are three different ways I would approach it. And I've had this knowingness. He could be physically hurt.
Yep.
It could be just the shock of it. Like something happened.
Yep.
Like even confusion.
Yep.
To it's an emotional thing.
Yep.
He feels bad about that he did do it.
Yep.
So I just gave you three possible reasons.
Yeah.
And so always with that knowingness that I had, that I never approached him or with those eyes that I knew.
Yeah.
You know, but as a man, if I knew it wasn't a big fall, I immediately knew that it wasn't physical pain. However, I didn't walk up to him and say, you're okay. It was, how are you?
Yeah.
You know, it was more, I was curious. And what's interesting now, how that's translated to him now becoming a tween.
Yeah.
When he falls now and it's been bad, that little guy, he breathes into it.
Yeah.
He breathes into it because he also knows this. Going like this,
it makes him bad. Yeah.
But when he starts to breathe, the endorphins kick in. Natural pharmaceuticals move in his body. Yeah. And the pain goes away.
Yeah.
He's a badass.
Yeah. That's amazing you do that, because that's what, and actually, honestly, I got it from Maeve. The whole breathing. She'll be like, breathe. And now I do that too all the time. Be like, okay, let's breathe. Even when they're, and I have a Cancer. I don't know if you like, super emotional. My daughter's super emotional, you know, about things.
Max is also.
Yeah.
Mine's, she's July 17th.
July 10th. Okay. Yeah. So we just breathe. And then all of a sudden she might laugh because she realizes that her emotions were.
Oh my God! There was change. I mean, when babies are little, if they fart, that can cause them to cry. Like what? Something. What
the hell was that? That's amazing.
Yeah, or the door slams.
A
disruption or something.
Yeah.
I remember. By the way, that was, I told you about, like, when Max came into my life, it really got me, like, really doing the work even on another level. Yeah. I remember getting into it. I don't know with who or whatever, but I remember him lying next to me in text messaging, and it somehow disrupted him. He kind of got weird. I feel my energy not being present with him. Yes. So I became more laser focused, becoming a father.
Yeah. And that word, You can watch it even if Maeve and I'm animated anyway, you know, and then when we get I'm animated, and then when we get in these conversations where where we're both animated and we can see all of a sudden the kids get quiet and they're kind of trying to gauge what's really going on in the conversation. Yeah.
You know, as we build in our business, there's one thing that we found that everybody needs, and that is capital. And in order to get capital, we have to understand our own financial literacy. So Maeve and I have joined this group in this company that will help you understand your financial literacy, be able to give you some different ways where you could gain capital. And if you're interested in that, and whether it's for business or for personal, you're trying to build your life and you need finances to do so, be sure to hit me up at 612-750-3948 and text finances. 612-750-3948 and text finances.
Well, the only times that my son has actually been afraid is when I've lost my cool.
Yeah.
And that I know those situations. There are three of them.
Yeah.
So one was, there was a deranged homeless person in the park we were hanging out with, and he was just, he wasn't mentally, fit, or, he had mental illness, and he kept saying things I didn't care, but finally he said, your son's going to die, and started saying some dark shit. Yeah. And I stood up and I walked towards him. Yeah. It was like everyone in the park,
they felt it, huh?
They saw that. They saw that, and that, he went away. Yeah. I remember the discomfort my son with that. Yeah. To when he fell, and we were playing, and he hit this old box I got, and his tooth went through his lip.
Ooh.
And so it was bleeding, and I went to the ER.
Yeah.
I swear to you, dude, I was I was in fight or flight.
Yeah.
I'm holding my boy, and he's like bleeding.
Yeah.
And some guy came out there for me to write on a clipboard to check in my vehicle.
Yeah, yeah.
And
you're
I
like,
pushed him. What the fuck? I mean, again, I got pissed.
Yeah.
Because it didn't make sense. Dude, my kid is
You see
bleeding.
what the fuck's going on right now?
My kid is bleeding. I'm at ER, but I remember my son being jarred in that situation to bring up.
Yeah.
But it's when he felt I was out of control.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I always do my best, no matter what, to be able to hold that container. For him to be that older bull elephant. Yeah. And when I'm not, I've noticed that now I can let go a little bit.
Yeah, 100%.
It gets easier
because they learn to have the control themselves. Yeah. What's interesting is because with all this stuff that we're talking about here, with the way that the women hold their presence with their boys, right? Mm-hmm. And even the lack of having a man there to hold the presence with the boys, right? Maeve has always told me that as a family unit, we, and especially with her when they're babies, they share the same nervous system, and then we share the same nervous system. And Acacia too, she was saying that too. She did heart math and all that we're all sharing, and even right now, because we're interacting so closely, we share the same nervous system. But imagine your child who is all they've known is you.
Yeah.
And they can sense, the disruption in the field of whatever you guys are holding together, and that's why this is all so important, not to bash anybody and not to demean anybody, but just to bring awareness to how important it is for you to work out the traumatic responses.
Yeah, so your child is your nervous system.
100%.
Your child becomes your nervous system.
100%.
It's a hard reality, a hard pill for parents to swallow.
100%.
Because you can do all this work, you can even talk in a peaceful way with your partner.
Yeah.
But if you haven't worked out your shit, it's in the field.
Yeah, it's coming.
They pick that up. And here's the thing, Max, he's with me full time, and he always slept in my bed up until he was 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah.
And when he would come back from his mom's, which is a little more erratic energy, I made sure he was next to me because I know my nervous system would can acclimate to a lot better to that. And so he's a fucking chill guy.
Yeah, that's super cool.
My son is me. He really is a mini me.
Yeah.
He's pretty solid. He's pretty secure.
Yeah.
He's also a joker too.
Yeah, 100%. That's good. We need that humor.
Yeah.
We need that. And just to reiterate that, when Maeve got this job, I can see even in Hawk, our youngest, right?
Yeah.
Because he's just getting out of nursing, how it affects him.
Yes.
Even though I'm still there and I'm there with him and doing everything.
Shift of energy.
Yeah, and it affects him, and he's a little bit different, and he's trying to acclimate and getting used to it. And we're cool. Me and him are cool, but I'm still not mom.
It's unfortunate that we don't have in a lot of areas where you have healthy, strong masculine characters.
Yeah.
Here particularly with the Waldorf parents who want the kids to remain innocent and art-based and nature-based is really beautiful. But just remember where that style of teaching began. In Germany, hyper-masculine.
Yeah.
So
that's
here,
crazy, huh?
It probably was way more balanced than where you had these German society, perfectionism, hyper masculine
German engineering, right?
And then you had this more feminine approach.
Yeah,
what a beautiful combination. But imagine you have nothing but airy, flowy type of teaching, and then you also have the parents being that way.
Yeah, in general.
Healthy melts.
Yeah, that's actually a good point that you're bringing out, because there was that balance in greater society. There's a lot of this masculine energy, and then within the school, they brought in the more feminine energy to balance things out. But especially here, like you say, where everything is kind of feminized, and you even moved here to experience more of the feminine energy. But then you have this feminine organization within a feminine container. And where's the balance? That's very interesting.
Yeah, a lot of men who I've worked with, who come from Russia, or they come from that part
Serbia,
of the world, like whole different experience, whole different. They're kind of like the old school like masculine here.
Yeah, 100%.
You know,
yeah.
Maybe a little bit more balance.
Yeah, a little more.
Well, if they're seeking a coach, obviously they got to be connected to their emotions. You know what I mean? But they're like real dudes.
Nice. Yeah, I like it. Honestly, I like that. I like the brass.
Mm-hmm.
I like the in your face. I like that just because it I don't know. Maybe it's because then I do feel safe knowing where people are at. You know, It's a lot easier for me to know how to interact with people if they're just being real.
Passive aggressiveness, I don't feel safe around.
No, because you don't know what's up.
Here's the thing, think about the actual mass shootings at schools. Who did it?
Yeah.
Young white, awkward, mentally ill.
Yes.
Boys.
Yeah,
or
that's
young
wild.
males.
That's so wild.
Yeah. So like, there's this idea, like, for example, if you see a man, and whether he's drinking or not, and he's screaming, he's out of control, he's coming at you, whatever, that's not toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
That is actually a man who's not grounded.
Yeah, 100%.
In his masculinity.
Yeah.
The masculinity in both male and females is the container.
Yeah.
Of course, like, for example, I've had moments here where it's so funny. In LA, they drove too fast.
Yeah.
Or like, cut you off.
Yeah.
And, of course, I wish I had like a 1965 Impala and go,
boom, who cares, right?
But my logic, the masculine, knows my feelings, the feminine, and it knows the repercussions. It knows the future. I'm not going to do that. Here, it's like people drive too slow.
Yeah.
Too slow.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to honk my horn.
Yeah.
Because I know it's safer.
And
I need to chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
So I don't do that. And also wouldn't be well received.
Yeah.
But I have moments like, come on, hurry up.
I want to so bad.
12 miles per hour. Come on, make a decision. But I don't, because the masculine, the healthy masculine in me, can contain my emotions.
Yeah. I hope people are catching what he's saying about this, because everybody always associates it with gender. Or is that right? Gender, where it's the man masculine, the woman feminine. No, we both hold it within us. Hold it. And I think you did such a beautiful job explaining that. And I hope people are really catching that.
Yeah, it's very simple. You can see the train being the feminine and the tracks being the masculine.
Yeah.
And so if a person's mentally ill, or if the person is not grounded, if a person doesn't have direction, that train is going to collide with another train, or it's going to go off course.
Yeah, 100%.
You have to have the two.
Yeah, you do have to have the two. And on the with that same analogy right there, if you keep stoking the train, keep putting more and more coal in the train, no matter how the tracks are, it's not going to matter if that isn't contained in and of itself too. And if the tracks aren't taken care of, if you're not strong and sturdy and the foundation of the tracks aren't built, it's not going to be able to handle the train either.
I love that.
No.
This is, what's interesting is that what I'm about to say can trigger a bunch of people who support the woke culture.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't. I'm going to mention something. But what it is that when I see videos of a person grabbing a phone and they're screaming and having a tantrum, male or female, or they, for me, I feel bad for them.
Yeah.
I know that that's a hard place to be in.
Yeah.
But I also don't understand why they would promote that as if how they're acting or behaving would be well received, as if they have their act together and they're going to make a good decision, that they'd be a great voter, they'd be a great employee, and so forth. So when someone is emotionally out of control, I would think many of us go like, that's kind of unsafe.
100%.
Male or female.
Yeah.
And so, like, for me, I would say if you really want to get your message out there, someone's got to do it with clarity. With feet on the ground.
Yeah.
So that whole thing. And a big part of that leads to, like, even say those who want to transition.
Yeah.
When they're speaking and acting, and I know mental illness. I've worked with transgenders. And when I see someone kind of more in this reactive emotional space,
100%.
I'm thinking that this person should not be making decisions right now that they might not be able to reverse. That's 100%. All. And it has nothing to do whether or not I think you should do it or not. It's more, it's stepping back from a higher perspective, going like, I would not go to a car dealership.
There you go. I was going to say that. Really? Don't buy nothing. Don't buy a house. Wait till you come down.
Like if I just broke up with my girlfriend, I wouldn't go to the car dealership to buy another car. I wouldn't think about buying a house. I wouldn't be thinking about designing a tattoo. Probably.
No, there's not right now.
No, I would want to. And that's the thing. When I worked with the transgenders at the Glendale Memorial Hospital, that was the process. It was just, they all were experiencing depression. They were all experiencing something. But when they got grounded with who they are, it was a different place. And it's no different than women who want to get a breast augmentation. And I'm not telling women what they should do, but I know that many women regretted that.
100%.
No one asked them how they were feeling, or whether or not this was a compensation. Until later on, the toxins started leaking out, and they started getting information in our body. A lot of women are removing them.
100%.
And they got them when they didn't feel. Back then, they thought this would make them a woman. What's interesting is when they got the reduced breast now, they feel more like a woman. Because it's connected to, they're now connected to their soul, their true, beautiful sovereignty.
100%.
And that's it. And if someone's in that space and wants to make choices, do it, go for it.
100%. And even that goes with what's going on with the dynamics in your family and the programming that was built in and the way that you compensate for self-esteem and everything. Because there's a lot of stuff I could have done that I'm glad I didn't. So with tattoos and all types of stuff just to prove a point. At one time, I wanted to get a middle finger in the back of my neck. So when people are right behind me.
I'm glad you did.
Oh, you're going to stab me in the back, huh? But those, and that just comes from.
You're not that person anymore.
No.
So imagine you being in a yoga class, you have your shirt off.
The
person behind is going, I don't know
about this guy. Especially in Ashland, what's that mean?
And so why would you want to make that tattoo for, when you don't know who you're going to become? Our consciousness is always unfolding.
100%.
So it's make sure that you're at your best, at least in that moment. Make a decision for anything.
For the rest of your life. It could be for the rest of your life. I love these conversations. I really do.
Matt, I know this is off topic. I imagine some people are going, man, I should have thought about this before I got married.
I know. 100%. Man, at least that isn't as permanent, right? Where are you? And that's why we're having these conversations, is where are you in your life? If you really want to learn how to be steady in yourself, and it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. We talk about men because we're men, right? But we also talk about women too, because they have both energies within us, right? And if you're looking at your life and you want to change, just like me, even right now, I'm looking at my life and I'm like, all right, where do I need to make adjustments? And I make adjustments here first in my thinking and the way that I feel about my life. And then everything starts. Even you showing up in my life is an adjustment. And before we started this, I showed you this. Almost 5 years ago, I had this piece of paper that I wrote it out what I wanted to do for my career, and this is it. Being able to share information with some of the greatest thought leaders, and you're it. You know what I mean? You're that, and I love that is coming into fruition. But I had to do a lot of work in here first before this even was possible.
I'm going to piggyback off of that. So for a moment, you were in emotion, but in the masculine, you plan for the future.
Projected it out.
You projected it out. You created it. But the creation is in the feminine.
It is in the feminine, right? Isn't that wild?
I think it's more this, and it's people hear the 80-20 rule. It's it's like put 20% into the masculine, and you know, and then 80% you have to allow yourself to receive.
Yeah, 100%. I did have, 100%. And what's funny, it took my some of my wife reassuring me, you know, because I do have my own insecurities, that I'm ready.
Yeah.
You know, and it took a little bit for me to be like, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I really am ready, you know, and it's awesome.
Well, this has been a good conversation.
Oh, yes. I love it. I love it. We got to do more.
Good.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Once again, I already know this is some awesome information, and a great discussion. As usual, all his contact information will be below. And do yourself a favor and just check it out. Check it out. Go to his website, check out his Facebook, check out his Instagram. Just check it out and get a taste for what he has to offer you, because he's been doing this for almost 30 years.
Yeah, 30 years.
30 years? 30 years experience, not only the book knowledge, but the actual life experience of helping people out and guiding people. So thank you again, and see you next time.
Thank you.